You always said that you would be, on your gravestone, would be, "Here lies the man who didn't win the Grand National."
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, I'd had a most wonderful ride on Devon Lock throughout almost the 4.5 miles of the Grand National. And every stride he was taking from the last fence to the winning post, he was going further and further away from the opposition. And the cheering was terrific. I've looked at the film many, many times, and you see Devon Lock sort of prick his ears as he was approaching the outside of the water jump. The first time round we jumped it. The second time round you don't jump it. You gallop past it to the winning post. And the water jump was about 40 yards from the finish. And I've looked at the film, you see Devon Lock prick his ears as a sign of recognition. He was here first time round. And as he pricked his ears, the crescendo of cheering which was built up it frightened him. God, what's that? And his hindquarters just refused to act. I've never heard a noise like it that day. It was absolutely terrific.
But that was the start of the writing there, wasn't it? I mean...
Yeah. Before this, John Johnson, he was an author's agent. His mother and my mother was quite elderly, and they both lived in London, and he drove his mother over to Paddington, where my mother lived. And as the two old ladies were talking about this, that, and the other, John was walking around. He suddenly came across the photograph of Devon Lock collapsing with me. And he turned to Mother and he said, "The chap who rode this horse, was he related to you?" My mother said, "Yes, he's my son." And being an author's agent, he said, "Do you think he's could write his autobiography?" My mother said, "I don't suppose so. He hasn't had an education in writing." And anyhow, John asked for my address, and he came and talked to me. I think he asked me to lunch one day, and he suggested to me. I said, "Oh, I can't do that." Mary, my wife, had come to lunch with us as well, and John was suggesting this, and I was saying, "Oh, I don't think I..." And she was kicking me under the table. She said, "Go on, try it." And, well, it amuses me when women come up to me and say, they went to bed with you last night, and I sort of looked at, "Oh, only your books," and they say, "We couldn't put it down. We got into the story and we couldn't put it down."
Lots of people ask us how do you write? I mean, it's the one question that everybody, as far as I can see, gets asked, who writes. And the answer is that a lot of people don't really know. They just sit down and do it. Taking Silks, for example, the latest one, we write on opposite sides of the Atlantic. He lives in the Cayman Islands, I live in England, and someone has to take control of what's happening and who's doing what. And that has increasingly become me. And whereas we will spend a lot of time on the telephone discussing, and I travelled to the Cayman Islands. Well, I went 3 or 4 times during the writing of Silks, when we would sit and discuss for hours on end, and we would look at bits of paper and different versions and say whether one was better than the other. And the process isn't the same chapter by chapter, certainly not book by book. So it's difficult to say exactly how you do it. I mean, we have my routine is to get up in the morning and go and sit at my computer and write. And my aim is to do 1,000 words in a day, and some days are good days and you do 2,000, and some days are bad days and you do 800. And then I will email them across to him, and he's not great at emailing back, are you? He keeps asking me my email number, don't you? Anyway, he phones me up and we discuss it, and then the following day I will incorporate in what we've said and what he's said and what he's suggested. But increasingly, especially since my father had a major heart surgery during the writing of Dead Heat, and then last year with a problem with his leg, and I take on more of the role of actually tapping the keys out, but the finished article is as a result of discussion. And Silks is fundamentally a Dick Francis novel. It is set in the world. It is the style is Dick Francis. It may have Dick Francis and Felix Francis on the cover, but it's a Dick Francis novel by both of us, and we hope we'll continue in that process for a long while to come, don't we?
I hope so.
We worked well together. It's nothing new. It's not a sudden sea change. It's the way in which the family has operated for the last 40, 50 years. And it's how I hope we'll go on operating and for many, many years to come. What makes a Dick Francis, I suppose, is the setting of the racing. It is very much that they are first-person books. They're written in the first person. I mean, the heroes, they're us, aren't they?
Oh, yes.
I mean, they're what you used to be, and increasingly they're what I am now.
Fly and Finish, it brings in two of my most important parts of life. Flying, I was in the Royal Air Force for 6 years, and Finish is what is the high point of every race.
Yeah. So, what's your favourite of your books?
Oh, Forfeit is one of my favourites, which was...
That's a long time ago.
Yes, but the more recent ones, of course, well, everyone, I enjoyed them all.
But why Forfeit, especially?
Well, Forfeit brought in a lot about the newspaper world, and I was a newspaper man at that time.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And it was the first winner of the Edgar Allan Poe Award, wasn't it?
That's true, yeah. Mm.
And I think one of the great things about Dick Francis books is the number of people who say to us that they read them time and time again. And even when they know who done it, they still read the book. And that in itself is what a fan is. It's great.
It encourages you to go on, and you might be working on the next book, then to go on and get to the end of the next book. A lot of my success has been that people remember the books so long and talk about them, until the next one comes out 12 months later.
So the first line of Silks, our latest book, is actually the first line, the first sentence, the first paragraph is just one word: guilty. So it sets the scene. It's the law. Nothing, no word could express courtrooms more than the word guilty. And we're working on the next one, aren't we?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, this is novel number 42. Seems a remarkable record to have 42 Dick Francis novels. And maybe there will be a lot more to come. I mean, I hope so. We've discussed lots of future plots and lots of ideas over the last 2 or 3 years. So I hope that, between us, or be up to me to put your thoughts into words
Yeah.
in the future. But we'll just see how things go. It's been a way of life, and long may it continue.
I'm very pleased that Felix's name is more just as obvious as mine is.
Having my name on the cover alongside that of Dick Francis is the greatest honour that any man could ever have.
Uh-huh.